Hey guys, it's Mike Jiang. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're gonna make one of my favorite dishes of all time. And I thought about this dish when I was watching Food Wars the other day, and I got to the part of the third plate, the Moon Festival competition, Kuga Teranori's signature dish, the Mapo Tofu. The dish is so nummy and spicy, and it hurts you in such a deliciously welcoming way that once you take the first bite, you just can't stop eating. And I'm gonna teach you guys how to make it so you can go try it for yourself, go impress a loved one, your kids, your parents, whoever you wanna both punish and treat. This is the dish for you. There's quite a few ingredients, so let me show you what I got here. There's some ingredients that give this dish its unique flavor. First, on the fermented side, we have fermented black soybeans and we have fermented soybean paste. These two ingredients makes this dish so incredibly robust. The flavors are so deep and saturated. I'm drooling just thinking about these two ingredients because these are some of my favorite things to cook with, especially the black fermented beans. That stir-fried with any vegetable, any meat, you will fall in love. So again, 2 tablespoons of fermented black beans, 2 tablespoons of fermented soybean paste. We have 2 teaspoons of sugar just to make things a little bit sweeter. Little scallion, garlic, tofu. And when you use tofu, there's a lot of different types of tofus out there. You got firm tofu, you got regular tofu. You need to use silken tofu because the key to this dish, part of it is tenderness. Tenderness is a key textural component to this dish. So silken tofu, the softest type of tofu. Chinese hot oil. Okay, if you don't know what this is or how to make it, I have a recipe on this. I'll link it down below. A little bit of cornstarch, Chinese cooking wine, sesame oil, soy sauce, and last but not least, probably the most identifiable flavor to this dish are Chinese peppercorn. Okay, these things are little landmines that you really want to sidestep when you're actually eating the dish. So if you see a piece of these things following your fork or your plate, run for dear life, throw it out. Don't ever put this in your mouth and start chewing. Just a quick story, I was eating out with a couple friends who never had this before at a Sichuan restaurant. One of them looks at me while chewing intensely and says, "Hey Mike, I don't know why, but I think my jaw is turning numb." And so sort of a weird sense. Yeah, you spit that thing out. You do not want your jaw turning numb. You don't want your tongue turning numb. This dish is nummy, but it's not supposed to be that nummy. But this is a key component to this dish. So the flavors of this dish, it's spicy, it's nummy. Like I said, it's also tender and incredibly rich and deep and flavorful. Okay, let's get started. First, before you do any of the cooking, start off on the rice. All right, excuse me while I wash this. Also, all Chinese people need to measure the ratio between rice and water is a finger. While that's cooking in the background, let's prep our ingredients. I got in front of me 5 cloves of garlic, 2 scallions. I'm just gonna separate the green part and the white part of the scallions and then chop those up respectively. The green part, I'm saving for the garnish. And the white part, I'm stir frying with my garlic. Now this dish, just like most other Chinese dishes, is a lot of prep and not a lot of cooking time. So once all the ingredients are prepped and ready to go, everything will go into the wok for just a few minutes and it's all done. So you don't really have a lot of time to kind of go back and fix things. That's why you gotta make sure all the ingredients are laid out because this dish will come together quick. Next up, I'm gonna take my fermented black beans and it's really gonna release its flavor nicely when it's chopped up. Like I mentioned before, a key flavor component is the numminess of the Sichuan peppercorns. And we're just gonna kind of break down this flavor in 2 different ways and also two different textures. We're gonna make some numbing peppercorn oil and then we're gonna make some peppercorn powder. So you're gonna do, take your wok, turn it on low, heat this up a little bit. And I got 2 teaspoons of peppercorn here. We're gonna take half, so 1 teaspoon, and we're just gonna toss it down here and roast the peppercorn. And right now, as you can see, the peppercorn looks a little reddish. We're gonna roast it till the color changes to brown. And when you roast it, a couple things will happen. 1, the flavor will get released more, and 2, we'll be able to crush it into a powder easier. That is starting to smell good. There's also a really fun story, legend behind this dish. It's said that this dish was created by a widower. Her name was Chen Jiaojiao, And she was a poor lady in ancient China. And so people would come by and give her tofu and bits of minced meat. It was said that she took these two ingredients and made a dish out of it with the peppercorn and with a lot of chilies. And when she had people taste it, people thought it was so amazingly delicious that she should sell it. So she started a little restaurant just selling this dish. And because this dish is pieces of tofu with spices all over it, and she also had pock marks all over her face. So they call this dish Mapo Tofu. Mapo means old lady with pock marks all over her face. Not the most nicest dish name, but hey, you know what? I mean, they could have just called it Miss Chen's Spicy Numbing Tofu. I guess maybe that's a little too many words, right? Mapo Tofu. That's how it came about. All right, once the color changes to brown, take it out. I'm just gonna put it into my little spice grater here. And just smash it into powder. Oh, that is smelling even better now. Heck yeah, baby. All right, that's done. Now we're gonna make a little peppercorn oil. And all we're gonna do with that is pour in about 1/4 cup of oil. Heat is gonna be on medium high. And we're just gonna dump in the other teaspoon of peppercorn. And we're gonna fry it, again, till it changes color to brown. And this should be pretty quick. And you can actually make more of this oil and just keep it on hand to use when cooking, because any dish that you wanna have a little numminess to it, this oil is perfect for cooking that dish. All right. When you're done, take a little scoopy thing and scoop out the peppercorn and pour the oil into a bowl and set it aside. We're gonna use that a little later. Final prep we gotta do. Teaspoon of cornstarch with a teaspoon of water. All right, that's done. Let's prep our tofu. Put it onto a plate and slice it up into cubes. You don't want these cubes to be ultra small, otherwise the tofu might fall apart. After we do that, just like in Food Wars, we gotta toughen the tofu up a little bit, otherwise it's not gonna survive our cooking. And the way to do that is just to blanch it with a little bit of salt to kind of just give it a little tofu training. When the water boils, couple of teaspoons of salt goes in there, and then we're gonna blanch our tofu. Really softly move it around. About 30 seconds. Afterwards, take it out, put it back on the plate. All right, I think we're ready to cook. Let me go get the beef. This is my favorite part. I feel like at this point, it's like setting a row of dominoes up and ready to push it over. Looks like everything's in place. Let's get cooking. Heat, medium high, a little bit of oil, the beef will go in. I'm excited. I'm actually feeling like I'm in Food Wars right now. You can use about 6 to 8 ounces of beef. I choose 8 because I love beef. Cook this till it's brown. And the thing about this recipe is that the salt is really only used when you're blanching the tofu. It's not really needed otherwise, because the soy sauce, the fermented bean paste, the fermented soybeans, these things have a lot of salt in them, so we don't really actually need any more salt in addition to that. When the beef is cooked, put in the garlic and scallions on one side. So push the beef onto one side of the pan, the other side, cook your scallions and garlic a little bit, about 30 seconds, and then combine it with the meat. Same thing. Push all that to the side. Add your fermented soybeans and just let that cook on one side of the pan with a little bit of the grease from the meat. And we're doing this just to release the flavor from these ingredients before it joins up with the meat. Oh, it's starting to smell so good. Oh, at this point of the food war, the judges be like, oh my God, what is that aroma? Except in Japanese. Oh, nothing the smell of fermented black beans when it's being stir fried. You know, like this ingredient is so majestically beautiful that they actually found this in the tomb of an emperor from like 2,000 years ago. They found a jar of fermented black beans buried with this emperor. You know, just in case he needed to do some cooking in the past life. And honestly, who will blame him? If I die, I'll be buried with this in a can of hot oil. That'll make anything I cook in the afterlife taste good. After this is done, add in your fermented bean paste. Cook that together. Then, a cup of water goes in. Heat this up to boiling, which only take about a minute or so. After that's boiling, heat on medium. In goes the tofu. Be careful here. Treat it very tenderly. Tofu goes in. 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of cooking wine, 1 tablespoon, or if you want more, you can do more. Depends on how spicy you want it to be. 1 tablespoon, or I just added 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of hot oil. And just cook this together. Let it simmer for a few minutes and let that flavor just get into that tofu. Now, put in your cornstarch and water mixture. Shut off the heat. Just a drizzle of sesame oil. And this dish, she'd be done. Looks so incredible. So incredible. All right, OMG. Finally, a little garnish. Remember that little crushed up peppercorn? Just spread that all over on top for some extra numminess. Scallions. And we ready to eat. Rice is done. Perfect timing. Perfect bowl of white rice. Chinese finger rice cooking method. Never fails. I feel like my apron should be exploding off my body right now in true Food Wars fashion. Wow. I don't care who I would have been up against. I would have won. It's majestic, spicy, nummy. The tofu just slips off my tongue like a silky robe at nighttime. And I added enough chili, so this gives me that nice burn, that great sort of food pain that I truly desire. This dish is spicy, it's nummy, it's tender, it's aromatic. It's truly one of the greatest rice companion dishes you can ever make. And this thing is customizable too. You don't have to add as much meat as I did. You could, if it's not salty enough for you, add some more salt. If it's not spicy enough for you, add some more spice. For me, the ratio that I give you for all the ingredients is perfect for me. So give it a try. All the ingredients I've listed down below. Try this out and just see why Ikehara has such a difficult time trying to beat this dish. It just feels like all the flavors just teasing my taste buds and then just punishing them with the spiciness and the numminess that only this dish can bring you. Everything about it, from the different textures to the different flavors, this is indeed how addiction happens. Trust me, once you make this dish, and it's not hard to make, it's a lot of prep work, but once you're done, you got this great dish that goes perfect with rice. Trust me, everyone who's tasting this is gonna love you, they're gonna adore you, they're gonna hate you a little bit for punishing them with that heat, but at the end of the day, as soon as that irresistible, delicious flavor hits their tongue time and time again, you will be forgiven 10 times over. So go try it for yourself and go win yourself a food war. As always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Until we cook again, see you later.